Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Gaming Banter. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. The three necessary evils of gaming and development. And then also, Derek and I are going to argue about Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Obsidian Entertainment. Woo! You're going to lose.
You're
gonna
gonna
lose.
You're full of
You're
crap.
going to lose.
It's getting hurtful.
The emotions are involved.
It's going to get hurtful. It's
Yeah.
going to get painful and hurtful, and we're not going to be friends anymore after this.
I'm gonna take you outside. It's gonna be like playing Road Rash with your friends. We're gonna be driving at each other on bikes, and I'm gonna bust you in the face with a baseball bat. Like it's.
I never played that game with this child. That's why I have all my teeth.
Oh man. So, anyways, necessary evils of gaming. Oh man, Call of Duty. Anybody? Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
I don't play a lot
Call
of
of
COD.
So, I mean, I'll start with this. I guess my number one necessary evil of gaming is obviously Call of Duty. It's huge for video gaming in general. I mean, it sold like what, 1 billion copies or $1 billion in the first day. I think it was $1 billion. Which, I mean, if you think about, I actually don't know if this one did that, but that was the last one broke that record. So I haven't looked to see what this Call of Duty has done. Ghosts. But when you think about it, it took Avatar, which, whether you like that movie or not, it took Avatar like a month or 2 months to hit $1 billion. It took the last Call of Duty a day to hit $1 billion. So it's obviously a very popular franchise. It's just, kind of like I was showing some of you guys the other day, like they took frames from, I think it was Modern Warfare 2, and just kind of did the same scene slightly modified for Call of Duty Ghosts, and it's like, that's what?
It's a good way to make a bill.
Show some creativity.
I wonder if the billion includes like they essentially all the pre-order sales, all register as sales on the first day. They're like on the first day of release we sold $1 billion worth. First day in cash, or if they made $1 billion in one day. Because I wouldn't be surprised if that includes pre-order stuff, and they just said, yeah, but on the first day it was out, we'd made $1 billion, but it also includes before it was out because people pre-order. I don't know.
But, I mean, they do the same calculation for movies, though, if you think about it, because I can order tickets ahead of time for movies, but it doesn't count until the actual day that I get there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't really. It doesn't destroy. That's a good number to hit. If I can make $1 billion over the course of a few days, I'd still consider it a win.
I think to translate that Call of Duty from like just the words Call of Duty into an actual phenomenon is just the businessification of gaming. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm a crazy libertarian and all that kind of stuff, but it's one of those sad things where you've got an industry that started off as a bunch of guys who were like really passionate and excited to make video games going into what are essentially corporate managed gaming studios, and I don't blame it on them so much as I blame it on the average consumer. Like, I mean, it's the same with movies, it's the same with video games, it's the same with all media content. Media is not made for like the discerning individual. Media is made for basically what will satisfy and please the largest and widest variety of people. And so anything that you put out, I think, that's going to be widely popular is either going to be spectacularly interesting or incredibly mediocre but appealing. And that's what Call of Duty is. Call of Duty is a super mediocre game, but it appeals to such a wide variety of people, and that's why it's popular. And I think that's the unfortunate thing that's happened to gaming, like AAA gaming especially, is so many AAA titles are driven by that desire to appeal to as broad of an audience as possible and make lots of money for shareholders and blah, blah, blah. And that's not the fault of gaming companies. I think that's the fault of the average gamer.
Well, it's just the fact that if there's money involved, corporations get involved, and then they don't have the time. Like, they do what's most cost effective, so it's easier to create a boy band than to allow some good performers to surface or something like that, or to like really go to a bunch of like little open mic nights and look for good people. Like, you just say, okay, well, we need to have some bands, let's create some bands. And the same with like movies. They're like, okay, we need some Hollywood blockbusters, let's get together a few stars and a MacGuffin and make this thing happen.
Indiana Jones 4.
Oh yes, I'm excited.
Worst
That is so
film. I
sad.
hate
You can
George
survive a
Lucas.
nuclear blast
The
in a
best thing that could have
refrigerator.
happened to the movie world was if directly after The Last Crusade, George Lucas had been walking across the street to a sandwich shop and gotten hit by a bus.
I say that a lot
By,
about George
by
Lucas.
Sean Connery.
By Sean Connery. That would have been awesome.
Have you ever seen the People versus George Lucas, that documentary about it? Like it's worth seeing. I think it's on Netflix. It's just like the backlash that people had with continuing the series and then like basically ruining it.
Doing a terrible job.
Yeah, like doing a bad job of it. And I think that goes with a lot of franchises. Like, of course it's more profitable to say, like, this thing worked out really well to our surprise and delight, so let's go as far as we possibly can to,
When you do that with like TV shows and stuff, that's why I like a lot of like the like manga and stuff that I like. Like I like Death Note a lot, and Fooly Cooly I thought was really good, and stuff that has really fixed sets. I got into anime and stuff with some Naruto and some Bleach at times, but man, they're on like episode or release like 790, and this stuff's just burnt out and worn out because they're like, as long as people will buy it, we'll sell it, even if it's turned to crap. Versus someone who says, I've created a series that's going to be 26 books or something like that, and then just make a story happen. And so the same thing, Indiana Jones is good, cult classic, but not even cult classic, people just loved it from our childhood, and he's like, well, there's money there, let's do it till there's not, and it's why a lot of like funny TV shows have 7, 8 seasons when they probably should have had 4 or 5 and just ended it gracefully. The Office is a good example of once Michael Scott left, end gracefully, but instead they're like, let's try to squeeze a little bit more out of this, and it's just kind of was not very good, I think.
And that's really starting to happen in gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. Back to the necessary evil part of it, like
money.
Yeah, they can make money off of it. I get that, but they still have a responsibility to put out a quality game and entertain. And you could argue, oh well, people are just buying Call of Duty to play the multiplayer, and I think that's really where we've lost it. We've lost the idea of a single player game, and beyond that, we've also kind of got into this thing of DLC, which is kind of my second point. DLC, in my opinion, is ruining gaming, but it's also kind of a necessary evil because they want to, how are we going to get additional content out quickly, but do it in such a way that, it's improving the games.
Well, and I saw a Penny Arcade extra credit episode on some of this stuff, and the downloadable content and stuff is good for the developers because the developers are having some troubles between they got to make deals with the console people and make deals with GameStop. Apparently, a lot of developers don't like GameStop because of used game sales and stuff like that. But so the way they can not have to worry about it is even if you buy a used game for $10, none of that goes to the developer. But when you put it in, you have to download content for $15. Then the developer gets $15, and they can kind of keep on going.
Skip the middleman.
Yeah, so a lot of the DLC is just a way for developers to get money directly versus split it with, whoever's selling the game, whatever the retail store is, and split it with all the different people I guess you have to split it with.
I think that is a much more necessary evil. Like, I have mixed feelings about DLC. Like, I know a lot of people hate it, but sometimes I like it. Like, sometimes it's really cool. Like, if a game... My feeling on the subject is, if a game ships and feels complete, and if I got my money out of the original purchase, I'm happy. Now, if a game ships and I'm like, oh, I have to buy this DLC pack to make this game feel worth my time, then I hate DLC. So I'm kind of in the middle. It's like sometimes DLC will come out for a game, and it'll take an experience that was already good and make it that much better. And so sometimes I like DLC. And I think it's kind of good for certain developers, like David said as well.
Well, I think you can really tell when someone's doing it for the betterment of their game and maybe for the love of the game and the audience, and when it feels like they're tacking on a way they make extra money off of you. If a game ships and you have to pay extra for multiplayer, when all the other games come standard with it, it feels like a used car salesman selling you like undercoating for your car or like rust protection, and you're like, no other people try to charge me $500 for rust protection. I think this is a con, So yeah, it feels more like they're just trying to get you when it's not too improved. Like you play the whole game was awesome, and then you can get an extra 30 hours out of a game that you love by downloading something. You're like, okay, I just buy a second game under the same name. Like I'm fine with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess kind of a good distinction is if you look at Battlefield 3 versus like Halo 4 or Halo 3. The way Halo does DLC is you get new maps, or they do map packs or whatever. And so it's not an extension to the single player, it's just an extension to the multiplayer maps. But in the multiplayer matchmaking, they don't force you to play the DLC maps. But if everybody in the room that got matched happens to have the DLC maps, then it's put into the pot of matches that you can play. So it's not required for you to play those maps. It's an option. Whereas like with Battlefield 3, whenever I was playing on PC, I didn't have the DLC maps, and they came out like a month or not even a month after the game had come out. And then there were no servers for me to play on. It wasn't an issue of, oh well, we'll release the DLC into the pool of maps that you're going to play after the point. It was an issue of basically you're screwed. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't like it. But I do like how it adds additional content and kind of gives those developers jobs past the release date. Because that's the thing that happens. These gaming companies and developers hire the developers, and then all of a sudden, oh well, we're done with the game. It's released. See you later. You're fired. And then that's kind of an alarming trend. But what do you think, Sunday?
I think with DLC, I've only heard extremely negative, hateful things from people around me who've had to like get extra. And I know like it's sort of the sequel with expansion packs. Just kind of pushing more stuff that perhaps doesn't need to be there. Like, think about a game like Red Dead Redemption. For me, they had the zombie expansion or whatever. You could get it in the physical copy, so it wasn't technically a DLC. But like, I didn't think that was necessary, and I didn't think it really added anything, and it was really brief to me. So I felt like I don't really count it as the core experience of that game. I just felt like they just wanted to continue a little bit with the series without having to commit to an actual new revisit of it.
They wanted to bring John. Wait, I can't say that. But they wanted to bring someone back from something. You know what I'm talking about.
You know what
I'm
I'm saying.
You know.
You know. I know you know.
You know. I know.
The Easter story.
Yeah. Oh, John Marston. No, I love him. I do. But anyways, I don't know. That's all I have to say on the subject. Goodness.
So, is there another necessary evil that you think of, Sunday, that comes to mind, like in gaming in general?
This one's just like an overall commentary I have on gaming. But okay, I find this is a conspiracy theory. I think that sports games are like the Monopoly. You know when you play Monopoly with your family of games? Like, all they can do is cause heartache and pain. Like, and strife between friends. Because,
Really, sports games?
Yes, like EA games. Almost all EA.
How do you feel this? Do you play sports games?
Yes, okay, so the thing about sports teams is that it's already like just this pre-existing rivalry that you don't really have to earn in order to be involved with. You just have to live in a city and be vaguely into sports to feel very angry about your team, right? This is their real world. And then with EA games, you have like the ability to defend your own honor, and then it just becomes like very nasty.
It's like playing Munchkin, except with sports.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that sports games should exist, but they're risky for society.
Oh no.
It's like meta defending your honor and your team. That's all I have to say. That's my necessary evil.
It's a gateway drug to gaming.
Yeah.
Sports games are gateway drugs to gaming.
And competition.
And competition. There was never competition in the world
No, there wasn't.
before sports games.
Until EA started making huge sports games. I've seen households torn apart. That's all I'm saying.
None of my family was so close and we didn't like sports games.
Like, we used to be able to sit at a table and look each other in the eyes, and now, no.
Like pass the mashed potatoes. Quap.
Yeah.
Throw
And
'em.
then he blew the Viking horn, and it all ended.
Yeah.
Oh no. Apocalypse now.
Yeah.
I actually have had some conflicts over sports games, but it's mainly because I never really liked sports games, and I didn't play them, but then I played a lot of shooters, and I would destroy people. They'd want to play me in sports games because I wasn't good
They
at
could beat
sports
you.
games,
Yeah.
so they could beat me, and then they would like rub it in my face, and I was just like, whatever. I 25-0'd you in Halo. Like, you're horrible.
You still feel shame. I know you do.
You can't hide your shame.
Yeah, there's a little shame. I want to beat everybody at everything. That's me.
I think it's a good characteristic. I know it leads me to conflict sometimes, but being competitive is knowing when and when not to fight battles. But being competitive, I think, is a good trait in general. Like even just to be competitive with yourself. Every time I have a birthday, I look back at the last year and I was like, how did I improve my life? Did I at all? And then I cry and I eat the whole cake and my surprise birthday party for myself.
So what we've discovered in this gaming banter is that Sunday plays sports games is more like a man, and David eats cake and cries, so he's more like a woman.
Every woman I've ever met.
An ultimate game, anime.
Welcome to Ultimate Game Anime.
Break down the barriers.
Breaking down barriers. That's another.
David
That's a.
single forever, Danberg.
That's what. Does my name still say that?
It still
Forever.
says it because it's still true.
Because they haven't changed since last episode. um, but yeah, I think that's another kind of, I guess, necessary evil currently is like kind of we had an episode on
Single
a while
forever?
ago. Me being single forever. Well, that any
The
gamer would
necessary
be.
evil of gaming. You will never, ever find someone.
Ron wants to date you.
But I'm Master League in StarCraft. Why? I use that line in bars and it doesn't do much at all.
The fact that it does anything at all is shocking to me.
That's pretty good, but
Well, the great thing is at bars it's so loud. The girl just smiles and nods. You're like, "Hey, I'm Master League in Star Wars, StarCraft," and she's like, "Oh, that's cool." You know, she didn't know what you said. You're just trying to be optimistic.
Oddly, this is something that disturbs me on multiple levels. But like when I watch professional Dota, like some of the really, really pro players like Dendi and Loda and some of those guys, like you know how like at rock concerts you'll get or like book signings with really famous authors of a certain variety, you'll get like people who will come up and be like, "Sign my chest," you know?
I do that to authors.
That happens with pro Dota. Like, how is this possible?
I think are you talking about Asian women? Because that's a different situation.
no. It's
Like, there's this guy, his name's Dendi. He's like the most wildly popular Dota player ever because he's kind of charming and he's got this cute Russian accent and all that kind of stuff. And women walk up to him at tournaments and are like, "Sign my chest!" And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
It's really bizarre.
I should show you my latest tattoo of
There are some ladies that like the esports, I guess.
Yeah, any type of fame and money will help you.
It's becoming a lot bigger. I mean, even StarCraft, I think, is impressive. Like, those tournaments are compulsively watchable, and they're getting bigger, and it's not just, like, over in Asia or anything. It's over here a lot of the time. So I can see being a fan. I used to, this is really embarrassing, but, like, or it's not embarrassing at all. It's just something I did. But I used to go to a lot of Super Smash Brother tournaments and stuff. Yeah, and like, some are, like, adorable, really good Super Smash players. Like, I would creep on them. I wouldn't help, you know what I mean? I mean, of course, like, I was also there for, like, the Pokemon tournaments they would tack on, so I wasn't just there to creep on boys, but no
You're
shame
really
in
good
that.
at playing
No
Mario.
shame in that
How
game.
you doing? Huh?
Yeah, like,
It's like good business.
yeah, I'm trying to remember the usernames of some of them, but without getting myself into trouble. So, anyway, yay.
Sunday we'll be posting her itinerary for Pokemon tournaments she'll be going to, so that you can show up and be creeped on. So just FYI, everybody watching.
Yeah, burned.
No creep on. My trash talk game is too fierce. Like, I think a lot of people get scared at some point.
You say some really like aggressively like bestiality lined stuff about people's Pokemon.
Yeah. People are covering their ears. They can't. Yeah.
Sunday's terrifying. Let's just be.
You're playing against a 12-year-old.
You suck, kid. You suck.
It's like that article you posted a while ago, Sunday, about the Nintendo thing they had to take down because people were posting inappropriate messages or whatever.
Oh
Like,
no! The swap note thing. I know.
yeah.
Honestly, though, what did Nintendo expect? What did they expect? Like, if you have an anonymous messaging service that you can draw and send pictures
To children?
what's gonna happen? Let's think about this.
Nothing good.
Nothing good. And so I know they took the service away, probably for the best, but oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's like, that's a great idea that went horribly, 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 horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Like, if there was a way to distinguish between, like, in a good way, adult users and younger users, but I think Nintendo just didn't want any of that content at all. So they just, so, yeah, because let's all ponder. I would like take a picture of myself and draw myself as Satan and just like send that out. You know, like that. Anyways.
So Derek, what about you? Necessary Evil.
Third necessary evil, the quest for better graphics. I think that, like, so many games, let's go get the better graphics. And now we have an angel and Satan.
Yay!
Reppin'.
But, like,
I'm usually Satan, so.
Money's more important than quality content.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, to your point, Derek, Age of Conan, MMO that came out by Tryon. Let's see, that was back in '08. Is when it came out, and I played it. Amazing game. I had to upgrade my computer for it. And I remember talking to all my friends, and it was kind of like the stepping stone for MMOs, where you went from like, okay, well, my computer can play World of Warcraft, and then it stepped up the graphics to where it was blowing up people's computers and frying graphics cards, and like you had to get new stuff, and like that's just what you had to do. And yeah, so I mean, it is a necessary evil, but you know that's kind of why console gaming is kind of big, is because you don't have to, you know, worry about blowing up your thing for at least a decade.
Yay! Console gaming!
Console gaming! That is, yeah,
you can't switch teams.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm still PC gaming. I just like to cheer for things. Universal healthcare, universal.
If you remember, David was console gaming. He just was console gaming at my house, not at his.
Bumming off of friends. Bumming off of friends.
Well, that was what I said too. Yeah.
Make me dinner while I'm over. Make me. That was a great thing, man. Because your friend's mom's like, "Is David hungry?" And you're like, "Maybe a little." Bring me some food while I'm over here.
When I was in high school, that was my mom.
Yeah. Moms will always offer you some food.
That's mom. That's the love of a mother. Really.
Then you go back to your mom and you're like, "Mom, I'm so hungry. I haven't had dinner," and you get 2 meals. Yes.
Yeah, my friend that was actually Aaron, and his mom always had like these the mini muffins and Cheez-Its and basically every unhealthy kind of snack food that you can imagine he had. And it was amazing because my mom never bought me that stuff. And so, like, I would always go over, and she's like, "Oh, do you want some, like, food?"
Why do you always want to go over to Aaron's
Yeah.
house? Yeah.
It makes me happy. I know, we weren't allowed to have soda or any, like, frozen food.
That was my friend Caleb. Like, his mom bought all organic crap. Like, even, like, she would buy him cheese poofs. They were organic.
Cheese poofs!
I don't think that really matters a lot at that point.
Disgusting. And so, like, he'd come over to my house and be like, "Hey, do you guys have any chips?" And there's always a drawer.
It's like a drug
There's a
deal.
drawer in the kitchen where you can, like, open up the drawer, and it's, like, packed with chips and stuff. And you'd always get in there, and there'd be a bag of chips that was gone.
He needed those preservatives to stay alive, to keep up with the
That's right.
culture.
This Kit Kat is going to be eaten in his honor.
Oh, this Reese's Pieces.
Is this leftover Halloween stuff?
Pour one out from a homie.
Is it, or do we just have a lot of candy?
This is David's review of Reese's Minis. I don't like them as much. They're kind of waxy. Don't.
They don't have to map in
Yeah. David, right after Halloween, posted a picture that was just like the clearance aisle at the grocery store, and it was just all candy.
Follow
So
me
this
on
is not
Instagram.
Halloween leftovers. Yeah.
Don't follow me. You don't know who I am.
But so I guess David, what about you? Necessary Evil, Darth Vader helmet.
This $4 mask on clearance after Halloween. $4. Necessary Evil. Oh, we did an article on it one time, but what's it? Misandry. No, misogyny. I don't know the word, but you know, like how it's still kind of a boys' community. And I think it is becoming a equally populated community. But
is that really a necessary evil though? Like, do we have to have?
yeah, to keep certain parties in their place.
I have a theory as to why that is. By the way.
Well, what do you? Yeah.
Here's my theory. Like a lot of guys that like are gamers now that are like kind of our age, they grew up in an era where, like, I think on average girls thought games were stupid. Like, that was the way it was at my high school. Most girls was like, man, games are stupid, and people who play games are stupid, and the only people who played games were nerds. Well, now that we're getting older, like, it's starting to get to where culturally nerds are kind of a little bit cool. Like, you've got people like Felicia Day and Hank Green and John Green and, like, people like that who've kind of made nerd into something that's cool. But when we were kids, like, that was sort of a way to be social outcasts. Like, if you're a nerd, you're a loser, you don't have any friends, you sit in your closet and play video games. See?
Then we all realize that nobody has any friends, that we all are sad.
I mean, with my experience of it though, like, and this could just be the place I lived or whatever. Like, I played more games, if you know, than my guy friends, or I had more systems, or I was more interested in games than guys I knew. And I think that the problem is that would be considered exceptional when I don't think it's an exceptional thing. Like, games are recreationally awesome. They take you to another place. You do it for fun and for competition. And so I think my theory about it is that Nintendo games were originally marketed to boys, and so it became like a game of this versus this rather than a multi-gender thing. It was like I posted an article that had the top commercials from Nintendo back in the day, like starting in the 80s and going into the mid-90s. All men, like no women in the commercials or girls playing at all. And so I think growing up with that, we all sort of had a perception of girls not playing games, and so if girls did, it was an exception and not the rule. And maybe they themselves also felt that it would be an exceptional thing to play. So like my experience is different, but I don't think that it's actually different. Like, I actually did something unique or special to play games because I really like games. So yeah.
Right, and I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, but what I think the perception from guys, I think this is why guys resent girl gamers a bit. I think this is why the male gaming community is a bit hostile to women.
Mm-hmm.
It's because when a lot of them were kids, or I'm not personally hostile to women gamers.
I am.
But David is.
I'm hostile to all other people.
But like, I think a lot of guys when they were kids, they were like, they saw gaming as a way to get, like, I think you associated that, at least some guys did, like, that was something that a woman would reject you for. She'd be like, oh, you play video games, you're kind of a nerd and you don't have any friends. And so now, like, that gaming is becoming more popular with women, I think they kind of look at the girls who are getting into gaming and they're like, hey, where were you when I was a kid and getting rejected by all these girls for being a gamer? Now it's
like,
cool.
I was the girl you rejected, but I lost 20 pounds. And you're like, oh, I forgot I was shallow.
I think subconsciously that's a big part of it. Is like, it didn't used to be cool, but now it is. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I think that might be a part of it. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Theory.
Well, I mean, maybe that's the experience of a lot more people, or even the perceived experience, just because socially that's like the trope of it. Like, that games are something you're doing alone, and that it's not a group accepted experience for the most part. Like, you know, when you're playing Zelda or whatever for however many amount of hours, you know. But yeah, again, like, I'd say that, you know, my personal experience is that, you know, that I've always enjoyed games, and it hasn't necessarily made me an outcast, but it definitely, you know, it's not Like, I'm not going to join a sports team or anything like that. So in the same way, you kind of make your own grouping. I don't know that that made me an outcast or a dork. I just am a dork. But
Coincidental.
yeah, and I think as far as like more girls joining games, I think also too, marketing does make a big difference. Like when you are bought games when you're younger and they're like Barbie princess games and no one wants to buy you.
Oh, I love that game.
Like, I don't know, it does make a difference in your own perception of gaming because you think, okay, well, this is my gender appropriate area that I can play. Like, these are boy games that I wouldn't pick up or I shouldn't pick up because it's not my area. And so I think you develop as a worse gamer even if you were playing because you're like, I can play American Ashley. Yay! So I don't know.
I'm not talking about like personal experiences because I mean, me personally, like I played games because I like to do it with my friends. Like, we love to get like 16 of us together and play Halo on the weekends because I saw it as a thing to do socially. But I don't think that was the average experience of male gamers. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I had that experience.
the one I described, or the
Yeah. I mean, we would try to put together parties all the time before Xbox Live became really a thing to do group gaming. Like, we always set up a whole bunch of TVs and, yeah.
That makes sense with people who have set up a conversation, internet conversation about gaming. We're gamers and we're social, so we're bound to set up these kind of interactions.
But, so I mean, overall, guys, what would you say is probably the most necessary evil of the ones we've talked about? So, I mean, we've talked about Call of Duty Ghosts, well, just Call of Duty in general, the franchise. We've talked about DLC, and then
Graphics.
girl gaming, graphics, and I think that's it. Was there a fifth one?
Sports games.
Sports games.
Yay,
Sports
games.
Yeah.
So,
heading now.
sports games, DLC, Call of Duty, graphics, and girl gaming, which is a necessary evil?
David.
I'm not sure where that...
What?
David doesn't like women. Like
I wasn't saying girl gamers in that. I was saying women are a necessary evil. For now. This wanted to be me and all my bros.
We're just going to throw that one out the window. That was not a part of the
No, I had a good argument, but then we had good discussion. But I just think it's because currently I think there's more. The developer side is still male occupied as well. But it's still, I don't want to get off on a long tangent. But
So final vote. We'll start with Derek and end with Sunday. So Derek, what do you think?
I really think Call of Duty is kind of a flavor of the month. I don't think that's as necessary of an evil. It could be another franchise as well. Not flavor of the month as in like it's temporary, but it just is what happens to be really popular at the moment. There'll be something else down the road.
Titanfall, cough cough.
Yeah. Girl gaming, I think that's something that's changing societally. I think that's gonna go away eventually. Not girls in gaming, but the more male bias.
oh, I was like, my dream world, get them out of here.
The one thing I don't think is gonna change. Well, even then, that might not be true either, because like, I think the biggest one is the quest for greater graphics. But then you look at the indie game industry, which is huge right now, or growing.
I like those 8-bit, 16-bit games.
Yeah, like gaming nostalgia, baby.
Once they focus more on gameplay than graphics. Like sometimes you find this beautiful graphics game and you're just walking around a beautiful world, kind of bored because there's not a lot of cool stuff to do. Or you have a 16-bit world, like Minecraft or whatever, where there's a ton to do because they didn't blow their business on graphics.
yeah.
Maybe I'll have to go with corporate gaming.
Yeah.
It's just not something we can get rid of. It's too late.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the most necessary of evils, or is that just something that's not going to go away?
I think it's the most necessary, just because they're the ones that are kind of driving the popularization of games. I think like they're the ones reaching the wider audience. Like look at how many gamers Call of Duty has brought in. Like there are so many people who didn't used to play games that do now because of Call of Duty. And so I think that's the most necessary evil. I don't know that graphics will continue to be a thing as much. Like, I think that might lessen a bit. Obviously, games are still going to be pushing the bounds with graphics, but there's there's a lot of games that are coming out that are saying screw graphics. We just want to create a cool experience. So I think the corporate corp
Corporation.
yeah, corporate gaming is probably the biggest one, I think.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I would say similarly, like, I guess it's the same for a lot of things, but money is a necessary evil. If people are going to do a good job and put work into something, they deserve to be paid. And then how to work with that, and then also how to work with all the people who want to get on top of it. You got a great artist, and that's cool, but then they get a producer and a bunch of other people involved, and all of a sudden you're paying out to everybody, which I think the indie game thing is starting to circumvent, and also Kickstarter. Like, there's a lot of great games, the Mighty Nine, is that right? And stuff like that. Like, they're just saying, I'm not going to deal with the labels and the company stuff, just like a lot of musicians do, and they'll say, we can release ourselves now, and instead of going through a label that's going to take half of our money and enforce a lot of things on us we don't want to work within, a lot of restrictions or bounds, we'll just release and the fans will pay for it, straight to us via Kickstarter and stuff. The fans pay less than if they bought the game. If it came out for $69, they pay like $29, and you get a better game where the developer was completely in control. And so we are circumventing a lot of the money going to people just for their sake of wanting to make money versus actually being an artist on board or an idea person on board or a coder or something like that.
Can I say that Kickstarter is like the coolest thing ever?
I like it.
Even some of the big game studios that are like massive have Kickstarted games. Obsidian Entertainment Kickstarted game.
Best entertainment ever.
Best entertainment ever, Ryan.
We don't have time to get into that discussion. We'll have to do that time. We're not going to go there. So back on topic, I would say probably the largest necessary evil is going to be DLC. I mean, I look at the corporate nature of that, and that's not going anywhere. But I don't think that's necessary because they're not producing great content. They're bringing in new gamers. But I think that there's other platforms that are bringing in bigger gamers, such as like the mobile market, mobile phone gaming and stuff like that. There's more gamers than ever because of that. That's kind of more of a gateway than sports games or anything like that. But DLC is something that, even though I don't like it, kind of to the argument, and I forget who made the argument, but basically, it funds developers. It lets them continue to make money and cut out the middleman like we've been talking about, and it's something that's going to improve the industry, and it's something that I mean, they have to be very careful not to abuse it, kind of like Battlefield 3 did for PC anyways, because you have to make it so that people who don't want to buy the DLC can still keep on playing their games, otherwise you ruin the franchise. I haven't bought Battlefield 4 because of what happened with Battlefield 3. Because either I'm buying it for Xbox One or I'm buying it for PC, and I refuse to buy it for PC because of what happened with Battlefield 3. Because DLC is going to come out, and then I'm going to be screwed. So to me, DLC is kind of the biggest necessary evil. But anyways, what about you, Sunday?
Yeah, I think I agree with DLC. I don't think that's going to be going anywhere. Even right now, physical copies of games feels weirdly dated and not for all instances. And I definitely have nostalgia for the physical copy. But I think that downloadable content is going to continue to grow, and like whether we like it or not, will be the thing. Like it'll be kind of how they're releasing The Hobbit in 3 movies. I have a feeling that games will be sort of that way.
Bastard or jerks.
Yeah, like it doesn't. I'm gonna see it. I like The Hobbit, but I don't know. I'm not happy about it. But
I have a countdown timer on my desktop dedicated to the desolation of Smog.
Yeah,
I know. 1 month, 3 days, 6 hours, 31 minutes, and 32, 31, 30 seconds.
Have you gotten your IMAX tickets in Nashville yet?
Not in Nashville.
Oh.
in Nashville? In Nashville.
Straight up Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Don't be bashful about Nashville.
Well, cool. I think DLC won this episode, so.
What? It was a tie. You're fine.
Oh, whatever.
You decide yourself the winner.
Each gets
Whatever.
a Kit Kat.
Also, Obsidian
You guys
is better than BioWare. Yeah.
better than BioWare?
Right.
Sure, okay.
And how come you guys all have T-shirts and I don't? I'm sad.
Nashville, baby.
You know what I hear? I hear a lot of whining coming from the direction of Derek.
Thug life.
a
What are we
lot
playing,
of
a sport
crying,
game
a lot
here?
of tears, and.
I want a shirt.
Anyways, guys,
What can
thanks
I
for
say?
joining.
They're in the mail.
They'll be there soon. Never. No.
Everyone who likes bio games
But,
is one.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. We love you.
Bye.
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 Hey, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and feel free to take a look at our website, www.ultimategamedb.com, and subscribe to our channel. We would love to see you there.
Definitely also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. If you like us or follow us, you'll be able to see when we're posting new shows and also a lot of articles. The Ultimate Game Database posts a lot of stuff on what games are coming out that week, how the consoles are doing on the console wars, a lot of fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so subscribe, like us, tweet us, and we will see you next week. Bye!